Welcome back. This is Uhfgood, and we're going through Blender 3D Noob to Pro, and I'll see if I can try to remember to start this stupid clock. Okay, I'm gonna try to get through more a little bit quicker and stuff because it's taking too much time. I'm wasting too much time. So let's get back into it. Right, orthographic view and perspective view. Okay, orthographic view or projection of a 3D scene is a 2D picture of it in which parallel lines appear parallel and all edges perpendicular to the view direction appear in proportion at exactly the same scale. Orthographic views are usually aligned with the scene's primary axes. Edges parallel to the view axis disappear. Those parallel to the other primary axes appear horizontal or vertical. The commonly used orthographic views are front, side, and top views, though back and bottom views are possible. Uniform scale makes an orthographic view very useful in constructing 3D objects, not only in computer graphics but also manufacturing and architecture. Here's one way to think about orthographic view. Imagine photographing a small 3D object through a telescope from a very great distance. There would be no foreshortening. All features would be at the same scale, regardless of whether they were near side of the object or the far side. Given two or preferably three such views along the different axes, we'll get an accurate idea of the shape of an object, useful for getting the feel of the objects in a virtual 3D world where you're unable to touch or handle anything. Here's a drawing of a staircase. Isometric view of the staircase. Okay. Got that. Here are three orthographic views of the same staircase outlined in red. So it's basically directly on front, left, and top, or bottom, or whatever. It's just basically, it's dead on, right? So parallel, horizontal, horizontal, vertical. That's it. Of course, this is diagonal, but you get the idea. Okay, so got it. The views are from the front, top, and left. Dashed lines represent edges that in real life would be hidden behind something, such as the left wall of the staircase. Think of each view as an X-ray image. The leading edges of the steps are visible in both front and top views. Note that they appear parallel and of equal length in 2D, just as they are in 3D reality. Okay, right, exactly. Okay, now let's go into perspective views. As you know, the main reason for modeling 3D objects in Blender is to render images that exhibit the illusion of depth. Orthographic views are great for building a house, but seriously flawed when it comes to creating realistic images of the house for use in the sales brochure. While the builder wants blueprints that are clear and accurate, a seller wants imagery that's aesthetically pleasing and the illusion of depth. Blender makes it easy to use tricks like perspective, surface hiding, shading, and animation to achieve this illusion. How does perspective work? The essence of perspective is to present parallel edges in the 3D scene by edges in the 2D image that are not parallel. When done correctly, this produces foreshortening. Nearby objects are depicted larger than distant ones and contributes to the illusion of depth. Perspective is challenging to draw by hand, but Blender does it for you, provided you give it a 3D model of the scene and tell it where to view the scene from. If you're confident you understand perspective, you can skip the rest of this module and proceed to coordinate spaces in Blender module. We're going to go through this anyways, just to be complete here. Blender only does 3-point perspective, not 1 or 2-point. Okay, right. 1-point perspective drawing classes teach various kinds of perspective drawing: 1-point perspective, 2-point perspective, and 3-point perspective. In this context, the word point refers to what artists call the vanishing point. When you're looking at a 3D object head-on and it's centered in your view, that is an example of 1-point perspective. Imagine looking down a straight line, a level set of train tracks. The tracks appear to converge at a point on the horizon. This is the vanishing point. The image on the right is a 2D image of a cubic lattice or framework. Like any cube, it has 6 square faces and 12 straight edges. In the 3D world, 4 of the edges are parallel to our line of sight. They connect the 4 corners of the nearest square to the corresponding corners of the farthest one. Each of these edges is parallel to the other 3. In the 2D image, the same 4 edges appear to converge toward a vanishing point, contributing to the illusion of depth. Since this is a 1-point perspective, this is a single point of convergence at the center of the image. So this would be 1 point, and if you drew a line here, they would converge at the vanishing point essentially. 2-point perspective, and that's when you're looking on like a corner. It's like, can I do it? But anyways, I have a box here. But I can't really do two, and I can do 2-point perspective here though. Actually, this might be 1-point perspective just because it's the floor, the bottom one is straight, and this goes to a vanishing point, so that would be. Anyways, I'm dumb. Anyways, now this keeps at eye level, and you're near one of its edges. Since you're not viewed at face on, you can't draw it realistically using 1-point perspective. The horizontal edges to your left appear to converge at a point on the horizon to the left of the cube, while those on the right converge to the right. To illustrate the cube with a good illusion of depth, you need 2 vanishing points. 2-point perspective. Now, they should have drawn the imaginary lines, even in dashed, that this line would go off here, and this line kind of goes off here, and they end up vanishing someplace here. And then here, it's kind of the same way. This goes off here, and this goes off here, and eventually they'll meet together off screen somewhere. That's 2-point perspective. See, the top of this kind of goes slightly down, the bottom of this goes slightly up. So like that, and they're kind of pointing to. It's sort of like they're pointing to this arrow, right? Like that. And then this one is pointing down here. This is actually more pointing down below the arrow, but it's still the same deal. It's like eventually they converge. So you have 2 points, 2 vanishing points, 2 points of perspective. Okay. 3-point perspective. Now imagine you're above the cube near one of its corners. To draw it, you need 3 vanishing points, 1 for each set of parallel edges. From that perspective, there are no longer any edges which appear parallel. The 4 vertical lines, the 4 right edges, the 4 left to right edges, the 4 in-out edges each converge toward a different vanishing point. 3-point perspective. So this one goes off to here, bump, right? That one goes off to here, that's that. And then we have one that goes down from this to the bottom. It eventually will converge down at a point way down here. And that's what makes it 3-point perspective. Okay, so now let's go to coordinate spaces in Blender. Ooh, coordinate spaces in Blender. Okay, so we got global and local, coordinates of child objects, view coordinates, normal coordinates, UV coordinates. Okay. We'll start looking at how 3D scenes are represented in Blender. As we explained in the 3D geometry module, Blender represents locations in the scene by their coordinates. The coordinates of a location consist of 3 numbers that define its distance and direction from a fixed order. More precisely, the first, or x, coordinate of the location is defined as its distance from the YZ plane, the one containing both Y and Z axes. Locations on the x side of this plane are assigned positive x coordinates. Those on the negative x are negative ones. Its second, or y coordinate, is the distance from the xz plane. The locations on the y side of the plane have negative y coordinates. Its third, or z or z coordinate, is its distance from the xy plane, with locations on the z side of this plane having negative z coordinates. Thus, the origin, which lies at the junction of all 3 axes and 3 planes of the coordinates, is 0, 0, 0. See, the images for this tutorial were produced using Blender 2.46. That's quite a bit of time ago. But let's look at this picture. Actually, let's go back to the main deal here. Objects in 3-dimensional space, in the center of the coordinate system is the origin of the global coordinate system. Gotcha. Now, what I don't get is, okay, so RGB, so B, so X, Y, Z. So Z is your blue, and so apparently Z, the Z axis is up and down. So when you want to move anything up or down in the scene, you go on the Z axis. Now the X axis is like left to right, depending on if you're, in the front or whatever. But go horizontally, and then Apparently y, because that's the g. Remember when it said that you can always tell the axes by the letters RGB, because what they represent. Green will represent y, so that means that the depth is y, and the z is the height. Interesting. Okay, so let's go back to the deal here. Global and local coordinates. Blender refers to the coordinate system described as the global coordinate system, although it's not truly a global as such, as each scene has its own global coordinate system. Each global coordinate system has a fixed origin and a fixed orientation, but we can view it from different angles by moving a virtual camera through the scene and or rotating the camera. Global coordinates are adequate for scenes containing a single fixed object and scenes in which each object is merely a single point in the scene. When dealing with objects that move around or multiple objects with sizes and shapes, it's helpful to define a local coordinate system for each object, i.e. a coordinate system that can move with and follow the object. The origin of the object's local coordinate system is often called the center of the object, although it needn't coincide with the geometrical center of the object. 3D objects in Blender are largely described using vertices, points in the object singular from a vertex. Parentheses, vertices, the singular form is vertex. A vertex is a point in 3D space. Vertices are a collection of them. Okay, the global coordinates of a vertex depend on the XYZ coordinates of the vertex in the object's local coordinate system, location of the object's center, any rotation, turning, or the local coordinate system relative to the global coordinate system, and any scaling, magnification, or reduction of the local coordinate system relative to the global coordinate system. For example, the teacup in Figure 1 is described by a mesh model containing 171 vertices, each having a different set of local X, Y, Z coordinates relative to the cup center. If you translate the cup, move it without rotating it, the only bits of the model that have to change are the global coordinates of the center. The local coordinates of all of its vertices would remain the same. Okay, coordinates of child objects, and we're going to have to wait until the next video to get into that. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.